Hello, Lynette here. So the American Psychological Association is the body of experts that brings us periodically these lists of words that are used to describe, to quantify mental conditions. And these have changed through the years. Sometimes a word is dropped because they decided that homosexuality wasn't a disease many years ago, which was great. But it's also the same fine body of people who decided that transgenderism is not a dysphoria. It's not a mental condition. It's just the way things are. If somebody decides that they want to be a female or a male and they weren't born that way, it's just okay. We don't need to worry about it. We just need to be encouraging and warm and fuzzy to them and help them along their path to their new persona. Good. But this paper that came out in August that we're just now seeing states that masculinity is a problem. Masculinity is problematic and detrimental, and it needs to be essentially cured, is what they're saying. Something has to be done with it. So transgenderism is just a perfectly normal condition like having blonde hair, but being masculine is a disease, like being schizophrenic. See, I didn't know this. I find this very interesting. The fact that the left has been waging this war on masculinity for several years now, it's all part of the Me Too thing. It's all one big package, of course. The numbers for men in the trouble that they're in right now are pretty terrible. We have a suicide epidemic going on, basically kind of in the heartland of America. It doesn't seem to be too bad on the coasts, but in Middle America, 77% of all suicides in a year are men. Now, I wouldn't have said that. I would have guessed that it was pretty even, or possibly even that women did it more than men. I'm wrong. 3/4 of them are men. Why is that? What is there about our country and our world that's causing them to do this? Well, it's this battle that's being waged by the left against them. And it starts out when they're little boys. You just have to look into some of the things that your local grade school is doing to make little boys pretty much into little girls. They're taking away playground equipment. Heard a story about a teacher here this last week that had forbidden her little boys to play with Legos, but the girls could, because this would just encourage this horrible toxic masculinity that we hear so much about, for them to be building things. And we want girls to be building stuff. So we're going to funnel, we're going to channel, we're going to inculcate behavior starting from 5 and 6, so that by the time that you're in high school, you're ready to commit suicide. No, I mean, you're ready to be a girl. It's really, really bad. And it's happening all across the country, and it's a concerted effort. This is intentional. This isn't just by accident the way things have happened. The 73% of drug overdoses are going to be done by men in this country. Why is that? First of all, I assume they're taking more drugs, or just women just smarter about that. But they're taking more drugs. Why are they trying to escape like that? There's a reason for that too. This whole thing of pushing women into being the supreme race is really what we're talking about here. Obama did it for 8 years, where he had an actual cabinet level woman who was the women's and girls chief poobah. She was something that was trying to get these programs and push girls in high school and women in college into these various fields. And this is all fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with a woman being an engineer. Go for it, sweetheart. But I'm saying that you've created an environment where men don't count because they're so toxic. Because the fact that you're working in a school that men built, you're driving a car that men built and invented, you're using electronics and tech that men invented and built. And yet men are so horrible for society, we should just get rid of them, really, because I don't know. We would be so much better off if they weren't running around raping people just right and left all the time, because that's all they seem to do, right? This is what the media does. This is what Hollywood does. I don't watch TV. I just look at YouTube channels. But if I'm in a hotel, I'll watch it. And the commercials, oh my God, the commercials that are denigrating men, the stupid husband, the stupid father, the stupid boyfriend. the clerk in the store is a man, he's a moron, but the customer is this snappy, intelligent woman. It is serious. Start really noticing, and you will be appalled. We have to do something about this from the very, the youngest children we have, the boys, because this is where it's starting. And if you have a little boy who maybe is a little more sensitive, and maybe he likes to play with his sister's Barbie dolls. Back when my son, 30 years ago, was a little boy, he played with his older sister's Barbies with her all the time. We didn't care. And he's one of the most macho guys I know. So obviously it didn't change him. It was all good. But if let's say that whole scenario is happening now, how many mothers are going, oh my gosh, he must be a transgender. I'm going to buy him a dress. I'm going to take him dress shopping. And then maybe I should just give him some false eyelashes. And the next thing you know, you have that Desmond the Amazing, that little 10-year-old boy who's just a disaster waiting to happen because his mother has decided that he's transgender and he can dress up like a freak. It's bad. I shudder to think of how many little boys that were effeminate, how many that are effeminate now are being pushed into this complete path of changing their gender identity because their parents are basically crazy lefties. It's probably a lot. And we're going to be seeing the fruits of their labor here in about 5, 6, 7 years, what's going on. And it's really tragic. I was lucky enough to be married for 40 years to an extremely toxic man who was so toxic that he allowed me to stay home and raise my children. And it was so toxic that he brought home a paycheck that allowed us to be comfortable. We made sacrifices and we moved around a lot, and it wasn't always easy, but it was a lifestyle that we chose. And it was all because he was so toxic. If I had just known, I would not have stayed with him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, could have been with somebody that didn't want to do that. So this is an issue that is crumbling our society. Women don't marry men who make less money than them. This is a documented fact. And it makes perfect sense. If you're a highly successful woman and you are dating, you can't find somebody that makes less than, they're making $20,000 less a year than you are. Do they sound very interesting? Odds are, no, they don't. So if we created this monster, if all we've done is push women up and push into these male-dominated fields, which is fine, don't get me wrong, but the cost of that has been to push men out. In other words, no, we're not going to give you scholarships. No, we're not going to give you special programs. No, we're not going to make it easy for you to get into these fields. We're doing that for the women, but not for you toxic men. You end up with a whole society that has these women that are out there. There's nobody for them to marry because all the men are, then haven't been as successful. More women graduate from college, more women graduate from high school, and pretty substantial numbers, especially in college. And then you end up with a bunch of single mothers. Well, even if you're a successful woman and you have your child and you have no husband in the home, the statistics are very clear, and they've been around for decades, what single motherhood does to these kids. They're more likely to not graduate from high school, and they're more likely to get into drugs and alcohol and then crime. And especially, this is the case when you have women that maybe are not making $150,000 a year. This is going to be the path that happens for them. So we've created this environment where women don't even want to get married. Why should I? Because the guys aren't as successful. This is bad. And that's what's toxic. Masculinity is not toxic. Masculinity is not a condition that we need to fix. We need to glorify it. And when I say masculinity, I mean what probably 99.9% of you mean by that. Means a man who is determined and ambitious on some level. Maybe not like Donald Trump, but he wants to make something of himself. He wants to be able to support a family if the woman so chooses to do that. This is another failure in this whole leftist agenda, is to take away that family structure where the husband can earn the money and the wife can stay home and raise the children, because that is sexist. You're not even allowed to talk about that. I talked about that in another video. So please start looking and paying attention and watching for these little clues, this little stuff that's out there. It's subliminal. It's not in your face a lot of times. This American Psychological Association paper is in your face. It's really awful. I hope to leave a link in my description for that. But a lot of it's subtle. So keep your eyes open, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.